First of all, let me apologize for running late. I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is a special Commissioners Court meeting coming to Starr Wednesday, 4 o'clock. Let the record show that we do have quorum and everyone being present. If everyone would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item is claims. Mr. Carter.
Yes, sir. Your Honor, the purchase orders have all been reviewed. Everything is in order, Judge.
I will second motion.
Move to approve claims.
Moved in second, discussion. All in favor, please, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4 is an action item, is to approve payroll expenditures and advances for May 11th. Mr. Carter.
Yes, Judge. Direct deposit payroll for this period is $353,133.17. The manual checks are $81,750.23. Insurance and uniforms total $127,671 and a penny. The retirement contribution totals $70,780.47. Employer Social Security and Medicare totals $129,787.56, making total expenditures $762,122.44. The expenditures will be funded from the payroll clearing fund, which has a current balance of $1,355,802.44. leaving a surplus of $593,680.
Any questions, comments?
Judge,
Yes, sir.
can I make some comments
Sure.
about this report?
Mm-hmm.
Commissioners, Judge and Commissioners, there's no visible signs of a cash crunch right now. However, I will point out in my report at the regular meeting next Monday that 90% or better of the projected tax revenue has already been collected. So there's not going to be much cash flowing in for the rest of the year. And the expenses, of course, will continue unabated. We need to mind our pocketbook pretty carefully. A cash crunch is probably coming.
Just one comment to that. Yeah, Ms. Salinas went by my office and told me that we have collected a little over 100% of the projected tax revenue if we take into account the adjustments that were made by the appraisal district. If we don't, then we're at 90-some%, which is excellent. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that we will not continue to collect. A lot of it has to do with the rate that was calculated in the budget for taxes, because we don't collect 100%. So it varies anywhere from 85 to 89% is usually what we collect. So if the budget had an 85 and we're collecting better than that, that means we still have quite a bit to go as far as money coming in. But definitely, we do need to keep a real close eye on the budget.
And we already collected 96% of the projected collection. Is it correct? It don't sound right.
Somewhere in there. Well, that's what the number she gave me.
Hmm?
That's the number she gave me. If we take the 600,000 or so of the adjustments, then we're over 100%. But those are monies that have come in that were not
They were not projected.
Yeah.
I mean, so actually you don't count those. I hope that if she's saying that we collected 96% of the projected, that what was collected of the, let's say, 85 or 80%,
Yeah.
Yeah, but we've had monies that came in that we did not expect.
Right.
Some of the windmill after the litigation was, so that's gonna
Yeah.
artificially.
Yeah, those are the adjustments.
That's what I'm saying,
those are gonna be
I
the
mean,
adjustments that's gonna be-
because if the adjustment, they shouldn't be counted as
No.
the percentage.
No, and she didn't.
Right.
She has two figures, one with and one without. Without the adjustments, we're at, and I don't recall the number, Commissioner, but it's 90 something. Could be 92, 95, I don't recall. But again, that's 94, 95, whatever it is, of the budgeted rate, not
Right.
necessarily 100% of.
I understand, we projected 80% of the 100, the value of the county, that we estimated at 80%. That's what she has collected, 96%.
Of the 80%.
Right, yeah.
So there's still money that I'm sure will be coming in, but that doesn't mean that we need to spend it, you know.
How much is more or less they expect, no mucho, no?
That will continue to come in, it should be about the same thing as what has come in prior years. I don't have that number.
Let's hope for the best.
But I totally agree with you, Mr. Carter, you know, we do need to be careful with how we spend. Any other comment, question?
I have an item that's technically not on the agenda, but I'd like to make a brief announcement. The gentleman sitting next to me is Mr. Carlos Resendez. He's a representative of Oscar Gonzalez CPA firm. He's one of the auditors that's here working on our ongoing audit. Just to introduce him and let you know, he's going to request a meeting with each of you individually for his audit work papers. So I'll let him talk to you individually to schedule the meetings at your convenience.
Welcome aboard, you know, we're glad to have you. And you're in good hands with Mr. Carter. Anything else?
That's all.
Do we have a motion on that already?
No.
No.
What do you want?
I move that we approve the expenditure.
Moved and second to approve the expenditures. All in favor, please, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5 is an action item, and this is to approve the electioneering regulation policy. Mr. Stuart, Mr. Hernandez.
Commissioners, do I sit here or? Commissioners, what you have before you in the packets is the proposed electioneering policy drafted by council with input from the county. What this is, in a nutshell, if you look at page 3, the prohibited activities, people will not be allowed to electioneer. They can't put up signs as far as posting them into the ground on county property. The litany of things that are not allowed on county property. However, if you will look at the exhibits that are attached, the photographs, we have provided areas which electioneering will be permitted. These are aerials of the different locations, the courthouse. The circles that you see, Commissioners, for example, in the courthouse, that's the 100-foot radius that has been drawn, that's by statute. Right outside of that is what the sidewalk there are included in the no electioneering zone. The green areas that you see there are where electioneering is in fact permitted. People can electioneer whatever manner they so choose. On the sidewalks themselves where electioneering is prohibited, individuals would be allowed to actually wear non-vocal electioneering. Like if they're wearing a shirt, it's permissible. They can walk around in a shirt. They cannot, however, hand out voting cards, sample ballots. They cannot be handing out active electioneering is what will not be allowed.
And that would be in sidewalks
That would be on the sidewalks. And
where it's prohibited?
it is prohibited everywhere that you do not see the green.
Okay,
The green is where it is allowed.
okay.
By statute, inside those yellow circles, it is where it is permitted.
Inside the circle,
Outside the circle.
outside the
Outside
circle,
the circle.
I'm sorry, I apologize, yes. Outside, inside the circle, it is not permitted.
it is not.
Outside, it is permitted. However, with the regulation we're proposing, it is not permitted as well on county property. Now, I want to make clear that this policy overlaps with our current county use policy. Okay, so, county parking lots are still county parking lots. Nothing has changed with regards to that. We are not superseding the county use policy. Parking lots are parking lots, they remain parking lots. If the court will look at La Rosita, previously because the geographic designation, the way it's laid out, we do not have the ability to have electioneering because it's all one big parking lot. So what we have done in order to try and protect some of the rights of individuals to electioneer, we have carved out those areas in green to allow electioneering to occur on those areas. Same thing in regards to last one, El Cenizo at the very bottom. The parking area is the area where electioneering is in fact allowed. The area outside of the circle in El Cenizo that is not parking lot has been and may continue to be used for purposes of electioneering outside the circle. That is not a parking lot.
Let me ask you something else. What would you consider not a parking lot in that area?
And which one,
Where,
Commissioner?
on the Cenizo? That's where the lines are, where the vehicles are stationed.
The
Where you
asphalt
have the line
area.
where the cars will park.
No,
Correct.
the first policy already designates the parking zones. If you go back to the first building use policy that has already been passed, the parking zones have already been designated. So you'd have to go back to the building policy and you look at the outer areas of each of the parking lots. That is a parking zone. That's already been designated as parking zones in the previous building policy and building and property use policy. So that those already exist, those already have boundaries.
So what's this here for?
This one here will designate the 100-foot buffer zone, and it also indicates that sidewalks, certain sidewalks will not be used for electioneering, those where there are most pedestrian traffic, like at the courthouse, all right? Sidewalks will not be, however, these sidewalks that are in the green zones, those can be used for electioneering, okay?
We don't have sidewalks
In where, in the
there.
Cenizo?
No, but we have black and white.
That's not county property, that's state property.
No,
So
Well, those are still sidewalks.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's in the
No,
state
no,
property,
no,
that's
no,
not county
no,
property.
I'm sorry.
Well, we still designated them in case there was some issue as far as the sidewalks themselves, because they're used, they have been used by the county, I suppose. So in either case, those will, at least from our standpoint, those can be used also.
Right, but that's, what I'm trying to say, these are not county property. This is the US highway, that's state property.
Okay, and if the state wants to prohibit it, then they can come in and tell us to prohibit it. They can kick everybody off if they want. And as far as this other area, those, the parking lots have, the parking zones have already been designated. So anything that is not a parking lot, that is not within those, that is not within the circle can be used to be for election.
So you're trying to tell me that here in this area, between my office and
That's a parking area. It's a parking zone.
that's designated the whole parking area.
That's the whole area is designated as a parking area. There's traffic going through and from the entire area. There's people backing out, people going in, going out.
So, okay, let's go back to La Rosita.
See, that's where we're taking out the designation.
It's the same, I would say it's the situation with La Rosita. They're cutting off part of the parking lot so you can election here.
La Rosita is the worst parking, the worst polling location in the county.
But you're still allowing to have the parking area to have election here,
Sí o
right?
no?
Because there is no other area to
There's
electioneer.
no option.
You're landlocked there. You're landlocked there. There is no other place to electioneer in that area. It's the worst of the county polling locations. You've got a fire department, you've got a library, you've got a food pantry, you've got a JP office, you've got a commissioner office, you've got people all coming in a very small area. This is the worst of your areas.
I understand. That's
Which
what
one?
And this is the La Rosita. La Rosita.
Because of the.
La Rosita has no
The
areas to
radius
electioneer.
and then,
It has none, because most of it is parking area, and that's a very small area.
Well, I think we should, allow, same token here that Cenizo, because we don't have to allow all the parking area.
And
I mean,
Cenizo
we
has
can leave it-
plenty of other places outside of that circle to electioneer.
The only thing I'm gonna say, Judge, on that, in La Rosita, I'm gonna talk about La Rosita. Everything's okay, and I agree with what they got there. But we don't need 6 units of the sheriff department to be enforcing this place. I mean, it makes it look like criminals, it makes it like we can't handle ourselves. Besides the elections being hardly contested, I've never seen an argument there. So we don't need 6 units taking up the parking spaces. I mean, no da vergüenza.
Actually, there's one portion of this policy, the regulations on page 3, that everybody should be aware of. Is it page 3, Victor?
Yes, no, 4.
Should be section 4. On section 4, in E, it reads, when using parking lots, county employees, staff, and contractors shall park the furthest away from the entrance of the polling location to allow voters to park closer to the polling location. In other words, employees to the extent that they can, need to park in a way as furthest from the polling location as possible to allow the voters closest access to the polling location.
Yeah. And like I told the deputy, with all respect, I told him, the only one park around here is you. When the election was going on, the only one park around here is you. Because they were taking the parking spaces for the voters.
You know, as far as the deputies, in the Roma poll, there were 2 to 3 city units and 1 or 2 county units. And that is the best election I have ever seen, as far as the control of that poll.
In La Rosita, I've seen hardly contested races, and I haven't seen arguments. We know how to behave. Some of the rancho, but we know how to behave. I don't know about you all in town, but in El Rancho, we know how to behave.
No, I think there's been arguments with all due respect.
Nah.
At other time. It all depends on.
About
what you
boilers,
define as
right?
argument. Hasn't gone to physical yet, but there's been arguments, there's been verbal matters there.
I think the goal that what we're looking here is to allow the voter the smoothest access to vote. I think in this last election, we saw that we had record numbers, and I think we'll still stimulate more voter turnout going forward. A lot of people enjoyed the unfettered access to the voting polls, and that's the purpose that we're trying to achieve here. And so that's what we're presenting this.
Okay, I do want to publicly commend both of you guys for the work that you all have done on this. Like I mentioned before, you know, I've gotten a lot of comments about this during, after, and before the election. And not one person said anything negative about it. So they all liked it, they all felt they could go vote, you know, without any harassment, peace, and that's where it should be. People should go vote whatever they want.
And also the last election, I didn't agree with you.
Yeah.
I didn't hear negative comments.
So again, you know, thank you guys for doing it. I guess I'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
Your Honor, take the motion to approve electioneer regulations.
Second motion.
Moved and second, discussion. All in favor, please, aye.
Aye.
Right.
Opposed?
I abstain, Your Honor, I don't agree with this.
Okay, we have Commissioner Garza abstaining. Motion carries. Next item is an action item, and this to declare H&H Drive as a county road. Commissioner?
Yes, Judge, we wanted to declare the H&H Country Drive as a county road. This road has been maintained by the county for the past 25 to 30 years when the other commissioners were there. And it's on the Google Maps in the 911. Therefore, we want to declare it as a county road.
Is that a motion?
That's my motion.
Second motion.
Moved and second, discussion. All in favor, please, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 7 is a budget amendment. Mr. Carter, is that in order?
Yes, sir, this budget amendment has been reviewed and everything is in order. This is an interdepartmental transfer from one line item to another.
Your Honor, make a motion to approve your request, Your Honor.
Second motion.
Moved and second, discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries.